I don't care how long you've been coaching. I think you and I both know that you can learn a lot from your kids. You know, they're in the moment. They're the ones that are playing the game. They're the ones that see things on the level they see things.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by the head men's basketball coach at the University of Texas at Dallas, Terry Butterfield. Coach Butterfield has been a college head coach for 33 years and has 533 career wins. During his 22 seasons at UTD, his teams have played in 19 conference tournaments and captured 4 conference championships. The Comets have secured 7 trips to the NCAA Division III National Tournament, including 3 Sweet 16 appearances and 1 Elite 8 appearance. Coach Butterfield is an 8-time ASC Coach of the Year and D3Hoops.com Coach of the Year in 2019-2020. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast. There you are, Coach.
Hi, bud.
What's up, my friend?
How are you?
Oh, man, I'm great. Thank you so much for giving up your time, and I'm honored to have you on here with me.
God bless you, man. Thanks. It's great to be on with you. Hey, we never get to see each other enough, you know? So
That's right.
If we got to do it with technology, then so be it.
We can Zoom to further the friendship and the relationship, no problem.
I'd rather see you in person, to be quite frank.
Oh, yeah. I get that. One regret, or I would say more of a goal of mine by the time I'm done coaching, is to have at least one player go play for you. I think that'd be a blast.
With the training he gets from you, he'd be all the way ready to get on to the next level. And I know you got a good one this year, and we just have not made it over yet. But we're not going anywhere, and I know you aren't.
Yep.
So we're going to get there.
Love it. Yeah, I thought we had, when I was at McKinney, I thought we had one, and maybe AJ Mutri. Thought we had a chance with him going to you, and I thought that would have been really fun. But
my time grows short, Maddie, but it's not over yet.
That's right. How do you teach leadership in your program?
Well, that's a great question, and I think that's sort of the essence of what it's all about. I learned a long time ago, doing this, that if the kids don't feel like they have a vested interest, as everything emanates from the head coach, and the kids don't feel like they have a say or have a role, and it's just the coaches feeding the kids all the time, it doesn't work very well. I think any group dynamics discussion would tell you that the people involved in the group have to have a vested interest in the outcomes and whatever it is they're doing. So leadership starts almost immediately for us when the kids arrive on campus. And what I mean by that is they get to see the upperclassmen sort of take charge of the whole proceedings. Now, as you know, at my level, at the Division III level, we can't start officially with the kids until October 15th. And I mean, we can't be on the floor or do anything with them at all. I mean, once October 15th hits, we're good to go. But as soon as the season ends, they're back on their own again. There's no a couple of hours a week to work out or summer program or any of that stuff. So anything that happens for us between the time school starts, which is generally late August and October 15th, has to be driven by the kids, and that means our upperclassmen. So we have a little system that I like to call our group leader system in there. We choose 3 or 4 kids every year who I think have real tendencies toward leadership. And it might be a senior point guard. It might be, interestingly enough, this year we have a sophomore for one of the first times ever. It doesn't always have to be an older kid. But we have 4 kids that I sort of have take charge of everything that we do as it involves all the players. And we meet right away when school starts. They're chosen by myself and my assistant coach, Jared Fleming. And we just say, hey, we want to invite you into this special circle. And this special circle involves you, a couple of your teammates, and the coaching staff. And we meet every week, sometimes more than once a week. Uh, we talk about all the goings on in the program. I listen to what they have to say. If they say, hey, coach, we've been eating at Wendy's a lot, we want to eat McDonald's this week, and things like that, I try to let them make a lot of decisions in the program where they have a vested interest. I had a kid the other day say, coach, smart kid, he says, can I be frank with you? This is in the group leader meeting with the coach. Can I be frank with you, coach? Well, sure. What do you got on your mind? Coach, sometimes, when we get going up and down, you blow the whistle too much. There's too much interruption. There's too much fragmentation, however he presented that. So I'm like, and so now I'm trying to do better with that, because I think he made a valid point. And I check with him, how'd I do today, James? How'd I do today? Coach, you were good today. You didn't really disrupt us that much. And it's real easy to get going and break everything down and blow that whistle and not let them finish stuff out.
Right.
And I don't care how long you've been coaching. I think you and I both know that you can learn a lot from your kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the moment. They're the ones that are playing the game. They're the ones that see things on the level they see things. And I just think it's important to have a system where the kids can give you feedback. Now, on the other side of that, when they come into me, I'm not afraid to lay it on them. I'm like, hey, you guys, that was a terrible practice yesterday, and you guys did not do the job. You're in charge of monitoring the practice. I don't want to be the head cheerleader. I want you to take hold of that practice, and you don't have to be me. You don't have to use my leadership style, but there's 4 of you. And by golly, you guys, you're in charge. And if this happens again, I'm coming for you 4 first. And we do that with everything. We're talking, if I go in the locker room and I don't think it's clean, I'm coming at them. If I don't think that we're moving from drill to drill quick enough, I'm coming at them. If we're having breakdowns and we're not with it mentally, I'm coming at them. We also do a mandatory study hall in the fall for all of our newcomers, particularly freshmen. When they get from high school to our level at UT Dallas, boy, it's like a sucker punch, because it's the real deal. We have the best and the brightest at our place, and sometimes kids don't handle that very well. So my group leaders run an evening study hall several nights a week. And again, they're in charge of making sure that it is as I want it to be. And I check in with them about that. What's going on in study hall? I don't get involved. I mean, if I got to go over there, it's going to be a problem. But the kids do a great job. Kids want to be leaders. Kids want to be led. And I just think that a great culture means your kids have to be vested in the process, and they have a vested interest in everything that goes on. Now, there are some things that, they can, and I tell them this, guys, you can tell me things that are, you think it should be ABC, and I'm just going to shut you down and say it's, I'm steering the ship. It's got to be this way, and this is the way, and I try to explain why. But I want those guys to be the real go-between. I know at the football level, they talk about the players committee. I guess that's pretty much what we do. But, if kids don't feel like they're part of the process, I don't think they're going to give you what they're capable of giving you. And I think that's worked really well for us and been a very important part of our program.
Yeah, I love that system that you have in place there. And I think it automatically makes me go back to, especially younger coaches wanting to come in and micromanage, make every decision, not allow for any input. And sometimes it's maybe because they don't want to be seen as a weak leader, because they're looking for, input or not advice, obviously, but but feedback from those players. But I think you're right on the money with what a great culture you have, dynamic culture. When, like, I love the story you said about the player telling you that you're blowing your whistle too much. One,
right?
to me, that speaks a lot about you as a leader. The fact that they feel comfortable enough to bring that up to you, and that you actually thought about it, and are still learning after. I mean, it's 21 years, 21 seasons at UTD.
Yeah, just started in 22, just
Yeah,
coming on 22.
I just
So,
think that's really impressive.
well, and the kids have to develop a comfort level to be able to do that, because, I don't think that they question who's in control of the program and who's gonna lead us up the mountain and things like that.
Yeah, because there's a
Um,
fine line there between
yeah, yeah.
you still have to, like you said, steer the ship. You can't have them running it, or being in total control. So fine line.
But kids are smart, and kids will come at it and see it in a different perspective than you. And then something like that, we discuss it. So as it so happened, I said, "Do you other guys feel this way?" Am I? And they're shaking their head. Yeah, coach. That. And then we talk about it. I have my assistant coaches in the room, and the group leaders are in the room. We talk about it, and it behooves me to listen to what they have to say, because their opinions are valid and they have good ideas. Again, these are smart kids. These are invested kids. I think it behooves any coach to listen to what their kids have to say going forward. And I don't, if you're a strong enough individual, getting advice from your players should never be threatening to you.
Hmm.
I don't know about you. I can name several situations in the heat of battle in ball games where, I'm drawing up something or talking about something, and some kid will say, "Hey, coach, what about this?" And I
It's a
have
great
the,
idea. It's a great
you
idea.
know, yeah, yeah, it's way better than my idea. I didn't realize we still had a timeout, and why didn't somebody tell me that? I mean, uh, kids given that opportunity will really come through for you, I believe, and it's fun watching the freshmen and the underclassmen watch the upperclassmen take on these roles, because they know that there's a good chance that it could become their time in later years. And the kids learn from each other. I don't have to do a lot. And we talk a lot about leadership styles. And we talk about, hey, there's four of you guys. You guys, there's strength in numbers. There's nothing like peer pressure. What you say in that locker room, and what you say when I'm not there, and how you present yourself, and how you approach certain individuals, that's huge compared to, the coach player relationship. As I've heard and believe so strongly, players in a great locker room have to hold each other accountable, don't they?
Hmm.
Players have to say, hey, 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 you're not working hard at it today. Let's go. Either that or get off the floor. Now, it's funny, Matt, in this day and age, kids don't like to upset the apple cart with each other. Um, I think guys should be one way in the locker room and outside, but once they cross that line and they come onto the floor, there needs to be strength and accountability, and they shouldn't be afraid to go to each other and make them accountable. I think too many people duck their heads
Hmm.
when a guy's acting up or he's not giving his all. It's too bad we've lost that in our culture a little
Yeah.
bit. And when I find that happening, I will bring those group leaders together, and I will say, hey, what about so and so? There's a problem there. Now I'm going to give you four guys a chance to corner him and talk it through and tell him what needs to be done. And if you can't handle it, I'll handle it. But it'll be a lot more effective if you handle it versus if I handle it. So I'm sort of the last guy in the chain. But how effective would it be for four upperclassmen to come into the locker room and in their own way and with
Yeah.
their own style, just really say, hey, we need to talk to you, man. Look, this, how you're representing yourself out there isn't what's best for the team and best for our culture. We need it to be this way, and we'll help you get there. Okay. I'll also, what I do, just to, I hope I'm not squeezing, the blood out of a turnip
No,
here,
this is
but
good. This is good.
another thing that I'll do is when the kids come in to start the school year, we'll break them down. So I'll assign one group leader for every 3 or 4 players, just depending on squad size, and I'll say your job is to make sure that these guys are accounted. You're looking out for these guys, and I'll always sign a couple of new kids to each guy. Hey, you need to check with him. How's he doing? Is the food okay? What's his roommate's what's his roommate situation? Is he homesick? Did he just break up with his girlfriend?
Yeah.
That mentoring kind of thing that an upperclassman can do with an underclassman can be very valuable, because, you and I, we can bring a kid in and we can push and push and push, and we're never going to get the same sort of feedback. Sometimes, not all the time.
Oh,
We're
but
never
from
going to get
peer to
this.
peer. Yeah.
Right, right. Feeling like you got a brother on either side of you that you can truly talk to and open up to. And then, we'll have discussions about the kids when the group leaders come in. I'll say, well, how's so-and-so doing?
Yeah.
Well, how's this guy doing? How's that guy doing? What are you feeling about this guy? And I get their feedback. Now, some coaches may not want to go that far, but I think it's amazing when we talk about personnel with our group leaders, there's almost always consensus. The way we're seeing it is oftentimes, and in most cases, the way they're seeing it. And that validates what I'm thinking or feeling, because, we can get it wrong.
Yeah.
We might be thinking it's this way and it's really this way. And they, of course, straighten me out when I'm seeing things not quite the way they're seeing it. No, coach, he's a good kid. He's doing fine. No, you're not, So I think that breakdown in that mentorship between the upperclassmen and the underclassmen is really important for the underclassmen, and it's important to me to get the feedback from them, because Matt, there might be a kid in your program that you can really get after, and when you get after them, boy, it just makes them mad and makes them play well. And there's other kids you can do that. You might lose them for a whole week.
That's right.
He comes through that door with his tail between his legs. Every kid's different. Every kid's got a different switch, and trying to learn that about each kid with the help of your upperclassmen, I think, can be a very valuable tool.
Yeah, that you nailed it right there. Because I'm trying to think of all those times where, or how many things throughout a season of one guy with 15 individuals, how many things fall through the cracks? How many times do I not know what's going on outside of basketball with a kid, but it's affecting his play? And either I'm blind to it, I don't see it, I don't connect the dots, but I also don't have anybody else, as an extension, to be able to get deeper to where the things that truly rise to you are the super important things, and those smaller things, you have that group, to those individuals to really help you. One question I thought of was, in your years of doing this, and I don't mean to, go the negative side, because, or what if this happened, what if that happened, but have you ever had, here's a guy that we chose as a leader and we had to change. We had to move him out of that group. And then another guy kind of emerged and we brought him on. Like, this guy just, because I have seen some kids, they don't want that responsibility, or they don't want the leadership that you're really talking about there. Some.
You're absolutely right. Some years your leadership group is just flat better than other years. We've had some years where, and I really think that there's a true connection between the strength of your leaders and the overall success of your team. I really believe that. And I can go back and we've had some really great teams, but I don't know we've ever had a great team with mediocre leaders, and I just think there's such a strong connection. Now, I've never had to just run a guy out of the group that way,
Okay.
but but I've also been disappointed when a guy had many opportunities to step up and really extend himself into that position. He was okay just sort of being quiet and staying in the shadows and not really investing himself in the process. Now, again, there are some guys that you choose as leaders that are very rah, let's go and vocal and aggressive. And there's other guys that are much more passive and behind the scenes, but that doesn't mean they can't be great leaders.
Like you
Okay.
said, there's different styles to it. Yeah.
Totally. And I always try to stress to the kids, don't try to be me or
Yeah.
the guy sitting next to you. Be yourself, but understand that the things you say and the things you do on and off the floor, they see every bit of it. If you're not willing to try to finish first in every sprint, when you see that guy sort of lagging behind, don't go up and ask him to be accountable because he's already seen
That's
you
right.
and he knows you're not accountable. So we really talk to the leaders about being beyond reproach
Yeah.
in
That
every
bar is
facet.
set really
Yeah,
high for them.
yeah. You better be first in line on the drill. You better be running from drill to drill. You better win that sprint. You better be the one stepping in and taking the charge. There's just so many opportunities for a guy to show great leadership, and a lot of times at the end of practice, I'll check in with them. We'll be in a big circle with all the kids and I'll say, hey, group leaders, what do you have to say about today's practice? Or what do you want everybody to know about our ball game tomorrow? What speak to the group? And then, some guys shy away and, some guys can't wait to get, their opportunity. So, you got to work with everybody within their personality. And I've had some really nice kids that led by example who probably could have done a lot more if they were willing to sort of come outside of their own skin. And sometimes that's just tough to do. Some kids just don't have it in them, but I still think it's so useful to have them there. And I have been lucky. The way that we've processed and chosen our group leaders, we've never had to do that. Now I've had problems with group leaders where there was unfavorable conversation on the floor in a tense moment, and boy, we have to talk about that now because if the other kids see you, in that vein, what's going to stop them from doing the same thing? So, I tell the kids all the time, look, if we have an issue, you wait until the coast is clear. Come up to my office. We'll
Yeah.
shut the door. If we have to hoot and holler a little bit, and we have to really exchange some tough ideas, then we'll do that. But there's a time and place for everything, and you've got to be man enough and strong enough as a leader to take the hard coaching that's coming at you and then coming back later and say, hey, coach, I think you were wrong on this one. Let me tell you
But
why.
not in the moment. Yeah, not in the moment. And that you're
Can't
right.
happen at
That
the
does
moment.
take a special type of player, a mentally tough player, uh, to go through that. One thing I love that you said is how you basically meet them where they are in their style of leadership instead of trying to, because I think sometimes when you hear about culture building programs, it's trying to fit everybody into this cookie cutter mold as you're either a raw guy or you all have to be tough. But what I love about your group method is, guys, bring your strengths,
Yeah.
maximize your strengths, and then stretch yourselves if you can. But I like how you meet them kind of where they are.
Well, and it's an interesting, like just for the example this year, every group their makeup is different. I got this sophomore who is just a real savvy, um, engaged kid who brings people together. He was hurt a couple of Saturdays ago, and we had to get up real early in the morning and practice due to some gym conflicts. We had to be on the floor at 7:15. As we broke the huddle night, hey, I got a wake up call coming to every guy 6:30. I'm going to be on the phone. I know I can't practice now. I'm on the phone. You better answer your phone when I call. It's a sophomore. That's unusual to me. He's just a real savvy kid, and I've got another kid that's very loud and boisterous, and he wants to coach the other kids. And sometimes I have to just say to him, hey, look, I love the message, but you got to tone it down. You got to leave that tone for me.
Yeah.
That's not for you. You've got to
Yeah.
be more, player oriented. And I've got another one that's very quiet, and I'm always trying to get him out of his shell. But he's a good leader on the floor, but he's sort of behind the scenes. So I think everybody brings strength, but what I love about what we do is there's power in numbers. It's not just one guy. I know a lot of teams opt for a captain or
Yeah.
co-captains. I know that's of value. But, if you have a captain and he doesn't deliver on the leadership, then you're really sort of stuck there. I love the idea of 3 or 4 individuals who can sort of come together as a group and, talk to guys together, talk to guys separate, 2 group leaders. I think there's power in numbers that way. And, and listen, it's not our best player. It's not the leading scorer. It's the guys I feel have the best ability to encourage, motivate, and communicate with their teammates who really make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
I have a junior this year who I think should be a group leader. Okay. And he's not. And I brought him in and I said, how sad that you're not a group leader. And here's why you're not a group leader. And you should be a group leader. And by golly, going forward, if you're not a group leader as a senior, I'm going to be very upset. And here's what you have to do to get there. So, that's another facet of the whole thing.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skill Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NIA and NJCAA to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 10-minute, 100-shot test can be taken for free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. So you guys, I love your offensive identity that you have and the way that you shoot the ball and the emphasis that you have on that. What are some ways that you help your players or teach your players shooting confidence?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do, one of my biggest deals is identifying for the kids what's a good shot. Honestly, I think we let kids get away with murder in this day and age. There doesn't seem to be any such thing as a bad shot anymore. Now, I don't know about your group, but we don't all shoot this ball the same. And I think the main thing that we really try to stress is if you're going to take a shot, I want you to have vision, meaning a clear-cut look at the rim.
Yeah.
And there's got to be balance. In the day of TNT and NBA basketball and all this 1-foot stuff, and, guys fading away and jumping up here and coming down 5 feet over there. At my level, I don't think we're good at stuff like that. I don't think we get guys that can, glide through the air with the greatest of ease and knock down shots. So we're constantly talking about what a good shot is. It's got to have vision. That means somebody's not just skying up over you and really taking away your vision and having balance where we can go up and reasonably come down in the same place.
Yep.
Because I think when you slide and you move horizontally, it changes your ability to see the rim. It changes the shot.
Your balance for sure.
All the time.
Yeah.
Now, every once in a while, I think you run into a kid that can do that, and I don't try to take that away. But the first thing is we're going to identify what a good shot is. And then we're going to talk about that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And freshmen have a way different idea than I do about what a good shot is. And I think there's a downside to that. I think that sometimes, if you get too restrictive of them, they can look over their shoulder a little bit.
Right. Start playing tight. Yep.
Yeah. What's he going to say about this one? What's he going to say about that one? So I think there's a real balance there. And I think you got to feel every kid out, but living with bad shots has never been something I've done well. Now, by the same token, I think when a guy's had a little bit of a history of taking bad shots, when he takes a good shot, I really try to praise that guy.
Yeah.
I
Celebrate the
really try
good.
to, hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey, that's the shot.
Yeah.
See, right there. And hey, I don't care if you missed it. You go back and next 10 shots you get like that, you shoot it. And if you don't shoot it, I'm coming over and tackle you right in the middle of practice. Okay. I want him to know I want him to shoot a good shot because he is a good shooter. So, that way, and particularly with young kids, when a young kid misses a shot, for me, and I see he starts shaking his head, and he gets wrinkles on his forehead and all that stuff, and he's mumbling to himself. I stop that right away, and I'll say, "Hey, are you a good shooter?" "Oh, yeah, I'm a good shooter." Well, then, good shooters don't worry about what just happened. They don't worry about missing a shot or 5 shots or 10 shots because they're going to make the next 10. And if I see you pass on that shot, then I'm going to come over because to me that's selfish because that's a great shot.
Yeah.
And your teammates and I believe in you shooting the ball like that. I think videotape's a big deal on that too. Bring as they say, Matt, the tape don't lie, right? And when you can show a kid this is a tough shot, this is not a high percentage shot, we're not worried about the volume of shots. We're looking for the quality of the shot. And when we take high quality shots and shoot a certain percentage, we've got a better chance to be successful. I want you to take a good shot, and I'm going to help you identify what a good shot is. And if you and I can't get together on that, that's going to make it tough on both of us, because I'm not a guy over my career that's been able to sit there and twiddle my thumbs when a guy throws up bad shot after bad shot. Look, we know that kids in our game, there's an ego factor involved. Every kid thinks, he's bound for the NBA, even at my level. And hey, I make this in pickup all the time, coach, but when the lights are on, you really don't.
Yeah.
So I think confidence is a big deal. But I think if you don't break it down early for them and really show from the get-go what you want and how you see a good shot, it's hard. It's hard to build confidence when you're constantly, well, I don't think it's a good shot. Well, that hasn't been defined for you prior to.
Yeah. I think it's really important. You nailed it early on that as younger players at high school level or even starting out in college, that they're not basing their game on the outliers of the NBA and what they do. Those guys that are so elite and what we happen to see in some highlight videos on ESPN or a mixtape on YouTube, that those small clips that we're seeing, we're not trying to emulate those skills that the millionaire who is an outlier of an outlier is the ability to do. For us to compare ourselves to them is just, man, that's very, we're overconfident right there.
Well, Matt, those guys are inspired by what they see on YouTube videos and all that stuff. And I don't fault them for wanting to be able to do some of those things. I'm just telling you, in my experience, I haven't had anybody that I'm real confident in coming in and jumping off of 1 foot and not being on balance and drifting from point A to point B and consistently knocking down shots. So if I'm not confident and I don't feel good about it, and it's tough for me to live with, we're going to have to define what that means for you and me in a better way.
And I think a misconception too is that they like Curry, for example, you just see the high amount of difficulty that he's taking in games, but they're so good at the basic. They're so good when they're on balance. They're so elite at that, and they spend so much time. Like Curry's at the point now where I saw this the other day, like in practice, he doesn't count it as a make unless it's a swish. Like that's how precise he is.
Right.
Where rimming it in, that's a miss. I don't count that. When your shooter, coach, I would bet when your shooters are at the point where they're so consistent and they're so elite that only swishes count for them, and they're doing that at a high clip. Yeah, that they're able to branch out to do. But what the problem is when we go to that level first, but we haven't mastered the boring and the basic, that's where we run into habit with the players or run into problems.
And Matt, I really believe that, you know, I believe there's got to be a certain amount of talent involved with a kid being a great shooter. Now, I think he can work himself. In my experience, I've never seen a mediocre shooter go to a great shooter. I've seen a mediocre shooter go to a good shooter.
Yep.
You know, a pretty good a good shooter going to a great shooter, boy, that takes a ton of reps, and kids work at it. But I think it takes a certain amount of talent, and I think you can refine it and you can build on that talent and become better.
Yep.
But repetitions are everything, and I don't know. In this, so many people want kids' time in this day and age. I don't have kids that have the time to spend 2 hours every day on the gun. I have kids that come in and get shots up, but to take it to a different level,
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to do. And I don't know how many kids you get, probably way more than me. They come in and they've got a flaw somewhere in their stroke. That elbow's kicking out. We're short arming it.
Yeah.
We're not on. There's so many things, and then just trying to get kids to break an old habit to start a new habit, or to build a new habit is really difficult.
Yeah. I mean, the odds that their form is clean enough and that they're willing to put in the time that it takes to become that level of special we're talking about, that automatically makes that path that's just very narrow. How many guys get to do that? I went to Duke basketball camp when I was growing up, and Trajan Langdon was speaking at it. And I mean, I was just sitting there in awe of him, the Alaskan assassin. And he talked about what it took when he hurt his knee and he was coming back. He wanted to come back a better shooter than he was already darn good. And he said, I shot 1,500 threes a day all summer long. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like doing that math in my head. Like, golly, that's 7 hours of shooting. Like, now you're right. There's so many distractions now. And there's this whole idea too of working smarter, not harder. I do believe you can maintain your level or maybe get a little bit better, especially if you don't have impurities or anything messing up your form, with a 30 to 45, maybe an hour's worth on the gun with purpose. The kid. Yeah.
I totally agree. Totally agree. You can absolutely get better. And I would not want my thoughts on that to be misconstrued. But I don't know many guys that are, 25% 3-point shooters that are moving in that 50 range or in that high 40s range. It's just really hard to do. I'm not saying it's never happened, but again, I think shot selection and understanding what a good shot is paramount to a guy being the sort of shooter he wants to be. And I think another thing that's really big is, understanding what your limitations are. If you're a really poor shooter outside the arc, it behooves you, and you're really good inside the arc, let's really build on your strengths. That doesn't mean let's not address your weaknesses. Let's keep working at that, but understand what you do best, and let's play to that, And nothing drives me crazier than watching a guy go 0 for 10 from the 3-point arc, and he's got an opportunity to catch the ball a little closer to the rim where he's a lot better, and he doesn't take advantage of that because in his mind he's a 3-point shooter, and and all that stuff. I just think that you gotta understand what your role is as well,
and being great at that, accepting it, being great at that. And because I think so many times, maybe in the skill development world, it's you got to have all of these skills. You got to have a three. You got to be able to finish at the rim. You got to have a step back. You got to be able to handle a little bit. And there's the amount of players that are special at everything. Golly, that's a small list. And I felt that a little bit at when in college. There's a faster, better point guard than me. There was a guy at the shooting guard that could shoot better than me. There was a stronger, bigger, tougher, small forward than me. So I felt at times I would have rather been special at something, really dedicate. You mentioned like build on my strengths and be special at something rather than what I was kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, which, yeah.
Well, you and I have a mutual friend down at Baylor, your alma mater, Bill Peterson, and he talks all the time. And with longtime NBA guy, with the Bucks and the Mavs and a couple of others. And he said in the NBA, there are these handful of elite players, just elite. They can do everything and anything. That's why they're elite. But he said, if you look at on NBA rosters, the reason why guys are on NBA rosters is because there's a unique skill or talent that they have, whether it's rebounding or defending or whatever it is. They're not all elite. So when they start slotting guys to be on their teams, it's because a guy has a special skill set. And if he can do that to the max of his ability, he's gonna earn a contract. And dumb it down to our level, I've got a kid on my squad right now and didn't shoot it well as a freshman, went home, worked his butt off. He's come back to us. He's a little better. But he's just a voracious offensive rebounder. And he's a pretty good defender, and he's a tough kid. We got to find a spot for a kid like that. And, we're going to keep working at the shooting and things like that. But that's not going to be his forte. We're not going to run sets for him to get behind a screen and get a three-point shot. We've got some other guys who can do that. But we're going to put him in other positions to help him be successful and to really build on his strengths, which just doesn't happen to be the three-point shot. And I think that's what the NBA is all about. You take these elite guys who can do it all, and then you slot in guys who have a special skill and can do a certain thing. Hey, now you're cooking, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing you said before, once you establish shot selection, what is a good shot for them, then it enables you as a coach to protect their confidence when you see, because so parents will say, or kids will say, "Oh, coach took my confidence," or coach, I need you to build me up and bring you and I know that it comes from preparation, and they deep down know what they're capable of or not. But when you see a player that has established he's established through his work ethic and results, what a good shot is, when you see him slump, when you see him shake his head, then as a coach, you get to come over and protect this confidence by saying, "Hey, don't worry about that. You're a great shooter." But it comes from that shot selection and knowing what that is.
And even if he's not a great shooter on that particular day, he's got to leave the floor knowing he's a great shooter. It's an aberration. It's just a one-time thing. And the next day it's going to be better. And he's going to get back to being who he is. And, helping him to get that identity and to really wear that identity as a premier shooter or whatever his specialty is, it's a really big deal. And, again, I think leadership can really help in that. When a guy comes off the floor, he's had a bad day, those 4 group leaders going over and putting their arms around him and say, "Hey, man, you're a really great shooter. That ain't happening again."
Yeah.
That next time you get the ball, what's going in. And because, it's really, confidence is sort of a flighty thing, isn't it? It's, you got to get guys that can keep their confidence through the toughest of times are really pretty strong mentally, aren't they?
Right. That is what it comes down to. They'll probably be successful. I think great shooters that are mentally tough, or they'll be successful in whatever they choose to do because they understand delayed gratification, that it's going to take a long, long time to work on this thing to be good at it. And they're going to understand that there will be peaks and valleys, but they're able to sustain and be confident and calm throughout that whole ride.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think your talent, your technique, your shot selection all molds together to form a great shooter. And once you've sort of reached that status at whatever level, your level, my level, the pro level, it's up to you as the coach to make sure that confidence and that security about his identity doesn't go away.
Yep.
And whatever we have to do. And, if I see you pass on a good open look again,
it's just like a turnover.
Like a turnover. You do it in a way that elicits a positive response for the kid. It's not a negative thing. It's a positive, but it's you saying, "Look, man, I believe in you.
Yeah.
Don't you dare pass on that shot. We need you to take that shot. We want you to take that shot. So I think a lot of it is just the psychology of it, the mentality of it. I don't have any special drills that we use, that I don't have any epiphanies about, how we go to a rim and we do this and we do that, and all of a sudden you're a great shooter.
Yeah.
Boy, I wish I did. And if you have that, please share it with me. Okay.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. One thing, I think there's some similarities between your level of basketball, especially with the restrictions you talked about before, how after their season's done and then you have to wait all that time until October 15th. You can't touch them, you can't train them out. We get an athletic period, so we actually might. I probably have more. It's insane, right? I have more time with my high school guys than you do with your guys. But
it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think what might be interesting though is, especially during the summer. I mean, and even I guess at private school UIL, we do have some hours that we're allowed. But what are some off-season expectations that you have for your players?
Well, that's a great question. I think most coaches do this, but I think it bears repeating. We'll give the kids, after our last game, we'll give the kids a couple of weeks off to normally by the time we finish, we may have a week of school and then a spring break or something along those lines. Once they come back to school, we're meeting with every kid individually. We lay it out there. Those player meetings are very important because it's an opportunity for them to tell us what they thought about the season and what they thought about their own individual development during the season. But boy, it's a great opportunity for us to say, I really like this, this, and this, but hey, this has got to get better. That's got to get better. And I think that the thing that really brings it home to kids is really laying it out from the perspective of the pecking order. Hey, look, next year we got this guy, we got this guy, we got this. Hey, and don't forget about this guy. Now let's just talk about everybody's individual gifts and what they all bring to the table. Now, if you're going to be in the mix next year, you've got about 6 months to work on your own. And we can't work with you, but we can encourage you. We can give you things to do.
Yeah.
But when the lights aren't on and you're by yourself and it's Friday night, you got decisions to make about what you want to do. Because 6 months will go by quicker than you can possibly imagine. And you're going to be right back in this competition. And where you fit in is going to be completely up to you. Okay. You get beat out, you get beat out. Go look in the mirror. That's where the answer is going to lie. So we'll give them a list of things that they must do. And to be honest with you, I think that the kids at our level do a pretty good job of getting in the gym on their own. Hey, look, you're not strong enough. You've got to get in the weight room. And they do. If you want to take these types of shots, you got to show me that you can knock them down in a better way. Hey, look, your foot speed isn't what it needs to be. We're going to play man-to-man defense. You got to be able to find a way to stay in front of the ball. And if you're not working on that, then, I can't guarantee you where you're going to be in the scheme of things for us next year when October 15th hits. So that player coach meeting is a big deal. And we're very frank with our guys.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, Matt. I'd say 98% of the time, the player agrees with the coaching staff.
They know where
who they are,
yeah.
what they are, where they fall short, where their strengths are. There's very little conflict usually in those.
Where they're surprised by what you're saying. What?
Yeah. Once in a while, guys they'll zing me like, I didn't see that coming. And I have to set them square. And the thing of it is that when there is conflict and he sees it this way and I see it that way. Well, I'm the guy making the decisions about who's stepping on the floor for us.
Yeah.
So you need to sort of come over to my side of things, because this is what has to happen in order for you to be successful next year. And I think that off season is a really important time for us, even though we don't get our mitts on them. I wish we could.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you, because just to give some perspective, I was at the TABC board meeting a few years ago, and I was the private school kind of member, representing all the private schools. And so we're sitting around with a bunch of public school coaches, and they're talking about, this was before UIL gave them any hours. They're talking about, not getting to train their kids during the summer. And here I am. We've always had, a certain amount of hours a week we could train. And so my first year at Faith, I had the gym open 5 days a week. I had a plan that I was going to take them through, and my numbers went like this: a bunch of kids the first week. And as that summer went on, they didn't want to see me every day, hear me every day, and be trained by me every day. And, a little a hit to my ego, but my thought, what I've seen over the years, that there's something about the disconnect that's good, where they're not, around you every day, hearing your voice, or having you train them every day. So you kind of made a comment a second ago, you wish you could have them more, but what do you see any positives from great season? Here's the meeting. Here's what you've got to get better at. And then that kind of freedom. What do you think?
I'm sure there is a positive to that. I know by the end of the year, they're sick and tired of me and hearing from me. So, one of the things I love, the silver lining is we put the onus on them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not force feeding you this stuff in the spring, summer, and fall. And as you know, the Division II and the Division I guys really have the kids all year round. But it's really, and I've heard it described as really sort of a job. It is a job. You get a scholarship and you sort of belong to me. I've had some Division II transfers that have come to me, and they didn't want to have basketball 24/7, but there's so much time between the end of our season and the start of the next one. They have to be the guys who decide, what they want to be and who they want to be as college basketball players. So the impetus is really on them and how bad they really want it.
Yeah.
And if you come back to school and we start practice and you're the same guy that you were when you left, I'm going to tell you about it. And, you come in my office and you want to know why you're not playing. And I'm going to say, hey, well, I just don't think you're any better than when you left us. And that bothers me. There's not a real buy-in there, it turns out, because you couldn't find time to do things to get yourself ready to be more competitive this year than what you left me last year. And that's always tough,
Coaches, the one thing that every team needs is confident shooters. The last 8 years at Grapevine Faith, our teams have averaged 354 made threes each season. I love getting to share with coaches how our shooters train, and more importantly, how they think. If you would like to enhance your shooting culture at your school, contact me directly at jamodipodcast@gmail.com.
Matt, at our level in Division III, that there are no scholarships. The kids are there because they want a great education and they want to continue to compete with the lights on in uniforms and play for a championship. And that's a great thing. But they're also have they have a very strong academic program they're involved in.
Yeah.
They want a little bit of social time. We're not paying them to play at this level.
So it's a good balance. And
that's the Division III philosophy. It's about the student over the athlete.
Okay, so that perfect. I've never asked this question to anybody before, and so years ago, it was, way past Baylor, and after Coach Bliss had kind of resurfaced and was doing a lot of stuff with Athletes in Action, he actually came up to Faith and was at my very first practice here 9 years ago, and so we had kind of reconnected. And
he told me, and I can't remember how it came up. He said, "Matt, you know what where the best jobs are in America in coaching?" I said, "No." He's like, "It's not D1, it's not D2, it's at a great D3 school." And I thought that was interesting coming from him with his, the experiences and the career he's had. So my question to you is, what does make D3 basketball so special?
Mm. That's a fabulous question. I appreciate you asking it. I think that guys at my level and programs at this level, they sort of live in the shadows. It's the minor leagues of college basketball, so to speak. And I've sort of taken on the opinion now that other than these Power Five conferences, that we hear about all the time, that we're all minor leaguers, just different types of minor leaguers. Matt, I'm a D3 guy, it turns out. Now, I've worked at D1 and I've worked at D2, but D3 has been a great fit for me because of the kinds of kids I get at my place. Um, and I know this because I keep track of you on Facebook. There's nothing that pleases you more than a kid that's moved on out of your program and going to school somewhere, and then he graduates and he's got a great job and he's doing, seeing kids go on and be successful in life. There's only a small portion of guys who are ever going to earn any money playing basketball. That's a slim and none opportunity.
Yeah.
And watching these guys grow and develop and have some balance in their life is probably the most satisfying thing that I do. And when they come back to me years later and they're doing fabulous things and they have families and they have young kids and they still have that great connection to basketball and the adventure and experience they had, it just fills my heart,
Yeah.
To do that. And what we see in the media is not what I think real life is. I just think that there's a heck of a lot more to be gained by the kinds of kids I get to work with and be around than, hey, this guy's coming, he's going to stay 1 year and he's going on to the NBA. I know there's a place for that in this day and age, but it's not for me. I get to be with these kids for 4 years. I get to know them and their families, very well. I get to really follow along their academic interests. I had a kid who played 4 years for me. He just graduated in the spring. He's in biomedical engineering. He never made a B.
Wow.
Okay. And in biomedical engineering. So I won't tell you about, his intelligence factor. Right now he's in a doctoral program at UTD and he's helping to run a research lab. And he's like all of 22 years old. He's helping to run a lab. And I'm like, oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
I got a guy that graduated with a mechanical engineering degree years ago, and he got his master's at our place. He's working. I got a knock at the door at my office one day. In walk these two guys dressed in suits, and they got a big badge on that says Department of Defense. Hey, we're here to talk about so-and-so. We're doing a level 5 clearance on him. And I mean, they spent 2 hours asking me the darndest questions. And when I see him now, he's all over the world for a defense contractor or whatever he's doing. And he'll say, well, I was in Australia last week.
That's cool.
I'll say, well, what were you doing? Coach, I can't tell you that. That's how
I could tell you, but
that's cool, man. That is cool to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To have a guy that I coached who was in that particular position in his career and in his life. And I've got a million stories like that. And it's very satisfying to me. And I really do think in so many ways, Division III has it right with the balance between the athletic endeavor and the academic pursuits. Matt, it's so funny. We do we've scrimmaged some D2s over the year. Even the D2 guys think they're all going to Europe and playing pro ball. And it's just so competitive to do that. I'm not saying some don't or some
but
do.
The odds aren't in your favor to do that. Yeah.
to not be passionate about your degree and to not really follow through, to put yourself in the best position to have a great career outside of basketball. I think that's a real mistake, and we just don't see that
Yeah.
at Division III. I don't have to walk guys to class.
Yeah.
I don't have to suspend guys for missing class. I got guys that come to me and say, Coach, I cannot miss this class. I'm going to be 30 minutes late to practice. Well, there's no decision to be made there. That's
Yeah.
what they came to school for. So I think I'm in a very, very unique environment. And that just so happens UT Dallas is one of the very finest schools in the country. Our average SAT is, off the charts, and kids coming from all over the world to be here with our computer science, engineering, pre-med, business. I mean, when I came to UTD 22 years ago, I was an East Coast guy. I thought I'd be here 3 to 5 years. And I go back to the East Coast where I belong. We get this thing turned around. I find another opportunity. And 22 years later, it turns out that I just love the types of kids I get to work with. And they're just a lot of fun. And they're just as competitive as the next guy.
No doubt.
But
Yeah.
they also keep it in perspective, and they have a real balance in their lives. And I think that makes it so much fun for me.
I think it's when I get to listen to players, high school players talk about where they could possibly go. I think going to the highest level possible is very overrated. I think what's underrated is actually enjoying the experience. I don't think people put enough value in that. And so when I was working for PGC for 5 years, a lot of the PGC basket instructors, so not like the directors like myself, but a lot of those instructors, they were almost all D3, some NAIA players. And it's funny is the campers would want to hear about my experience. Played at Baylor. I tell them, yeah, running out of Kansas was really cool, but I wasn't good friends with most of my teammates.
Yeah.
My coaches, I didn't really know them. It was a grind and a job, and I was terrified every day that I wasn't going to have my spot or my scholarship anymore. And I don't really keep in contact with anybody. Does that sound good to you guys? But then these D3 guys, when they would talk about their experiences, I loved my coach. I love my teammates. They're some of my best friends. I played because I loved the game. That movie For Love of the Game always comes up when I'm thinking about that. And I think back, and I tell players now, I would love to have a story or an experience like that I can share, not the few things that made what I did cool. It's not, to me, it's not worth it. And so I love getting to talk to guys like you, and I love getting to tell players that there is a level of basketball out there that's the right fit for you, with people that care and with teammates that are just doing it because they love the game. I think that's special.
Yeah, I have an assistant coach who's been with me 6 years now. Jared Fleming played on my Elite 8 team back 2009, 2010. He was a good little player. So he's been my assistant for 6 years. We'll be up in the office watching film. And he puts his phone on silent, but that stupid thing still buzzes every time he gets a text. And his cronies, his college teammates, somebody will say something in a group text, and that phone will just bzz, bzz,
That's right.
bzz. And finally I'll have to, will you tell those guys to shut up and get off the phone? You're screwing up my film session. And I mean, but that's how they roll. That's how they live. They live for each other. They do things together. Their families get together. Now, I think that's a great experience. And I think basketball is so much more than just basketball. It's an experience and it's adventure. I think about all the kids that walk around UTD every day who are in high academic pursuit, who will never have the opportunity to be part of a team like my kids do. And they have no idea what they're missing. They have no idea about the specialness of what it means to be on a team. That's sad for me, but on the other hand, I'm so thankful for the kids we get. And I know that these kids, that their lives are better for being on a college basketball team. I truly believe that.
So I've known you for Man, 12 to 15 years now?
At least,
At
maybe
least?
longer.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
longer. And so I know you, but after the speed round, I'm going to know you even better. So the speed
Uh-oh.
round is going to be quick questions. First thing that pops in your head just comes out.
No, you didn't prep me for no speed round, brother.
Coach, it was in the original email. Now I make that email long. So assuming a lot of people, it's in the fine print. It's in the fine print.
All right,
All
here we
right.
go, buddy.
Easy one. Favorite ice cream flavor
Chocolate.
for
Double chocolate, triple chocolate.
There you go. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
I think shot clock now.
I thought
I
so.
think shot clock. I think it's, yeah.
What would you choose, texting or talking? Like, what do you like to do the most?
Talking, man.
Talking.
Nothing
All right.
like.
Favorite holiday?
Well, I know that's the lightning round, but I just got to say, in our business, have we ever really had the chance to enjoy a Thanksgiving or a Christmas?
That's true. You get one day.
Hey, we're always thinking about what? The kids come back to practice tomorrow. We got to get ready for a game in 2 days. I'm not far from retirement. And honestly, I wonder what a Christmas feels like where the next day I can just eat and do nothing.
You got nothing to do. Yeah.
Right? Okay, so favorite holiday right now, I'm going to say July 4th because there's no basketball.
I love that. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
Period would I go to? Oh, my goodness. Oh, I think we got to go back to the colonial period, man. It was all getting started. What did this place look like without all the buildings and all the concrete?
Yeah.
Colonial.
I like that. 3 more. Favorite childhood TV show?
Oh, Mannix.
Ah,
you ever see Mannix?
I haven't, but yeah.
Saturday night.
Okay.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was a private eye investigator. Okay. Go look up Mannix.
Okay. Well, I have another. I want to know this one for you. Favorite coach of all time? Could be any sport.
So my father was a longtime Division III college football coach. And at Ithaca College, his name was Jim Butterfield. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He won 3 national championships. The football field at Ithaca is named in his honor. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame in South Bend, Indiana. My dad was my hero.
There you go.
Best coach I ever knew. If I could be anything like him, well, if I could just be half of him, I'd be pretty good.
I personally, I didn't know him, but I think you've done a pretty amazing job. I should stop the speed round right there because that was awesome. But 2 more. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
And that would be 2. Okay.
Always 2. Yeah.
Well,
how do you drink it? How do you drink it?
Well, I like to tell you I'm a tough guy and it's just black, but there is definitely some cream and a little sugar sprinkled in. But I will tell you this, okay, since you did ask, I just recently purchased a French press coffee maker. Have you ever had a French press?
I have had one, but the fact that you purchased one and you're making your own, so you're
I'm grinding some beans,
yeah,
I'm pressing some fresh coffee, and I'm going to bring you some of that one day.
Love that. Last one: Godfather or Star Wars?
Well, I hate to say it, but probably Star Wars.
Let's go. I knew it, Coach. Like I knew the force was strong with you. Do not be embarrassed about Star Wars. I think most coaches say Godfather, but there's just so many parallels in Star Wars with the light and the dark. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. All that Godfather stuff scares me a lot worse than Star Wars. I could deal with a lightsaber, but all that killing and Star Wars, buddy. Star Wars.
Oh, Coach, this was incredible. I've appreciated your friendship so much over the years, and I love getting to learn from you tonight. Thank you so much for giving up your time.
Hey, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I love our friendship, and may it burn bright forever, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.